What's up, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back reporting for duty with Bellator and UFC veteran Jeremy Kennedy, future PFL
and PFL
fighter.
veteran.
What's that?
and
Well, that's
PFL
true.
veteran.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's back.
I'm back.
Jeremy, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. What a whirlwind year. You got that fight in early in the year. You got your hand raised. You became a dad.
Yeah.
And now the employer situation with the acquisition of PFL acquiring Bellator. Man, your head must be spinning in 2023.
It has been. Yeah, it's been spinning pretty much all year. Right after that last fight, it was title shot was lined up, so it was kind of waiting on Pitbull's timeline, and then he had a pretty funky year. Going down, challenging at 35, and then the short notice thing in Japan and how that went, and then surgery, and then they had an interim thing scheduled for me and for December, and Viacom canceled that card, so it was just back to back to back, constantly getting pushed back. And then now here we are with the merger, and still kind of uncertainty on when things are starting back up again. But I've just been in camp all year pretty much with things right around the corner was supposed to be. So that's nice. It's actually kept me, in the gym, staying focused and keeping my weight down and all that. But still not ideal.
All right. So, Jeremy, at the end of the year, PFL had their end of the year show. Jesus Pinedo won. And what they were doing was facing off the last Bellator champion with the current Bellator champion, the one that had just won that season.
Yeah.
You saw Patricio versus Pinedo face off. Kind of leaves you, I guess, off to the side. You were supposed to fight for the Bellator featherweight title. It didn't happen. So what happens now? What do you want? I always want to know what the fighter wants. Do you want to enter the season and I guess the bright side is you stay busy, you fight for $1 million, or do you want to just fight the winner of Pinedo and Patricio, or is that too risky because of uncertainty? What's going through your head?
Yeah, man, I mean, it's all pretty new to me. I mean, like I said, I've been up for a title shot all year. That's what I've been waiting for. It kept getting pushed back, and then December, like I said, was an interim, so we were close there. Card kind of fell through. Now Pitbull's ready to come back. And I still thought that was the one that I was coming back to in the year. And then, they did the stare down, and that kind of answered that question for me. And I think they were just, they hadn't had everything set up yet, but I just think they were excited and they were going with it. That was an opportunity for them to square off these champions. Who knows if it's all going to be on one card still, like if they are going to be fighting at the beginning of the year or if they're going to spread it out. Like I'm not sure exactly what's happening there. And I mean, it's until I see like an official announcement, it's still there. There's a little bit of hope, maybe they are planning a champion versus champion thing, but that could be at near, middle of the year or something like that. And that'll still give these Bellator titles, it might not be those guys that are facing off, like at the time that was the fight that they want, but this is wishful thinking, but I mean, I end up getting that fight earlier and winning the belt. And then now I'm fighting Pinedo, so I don't know what exactly happens. I'm sure we'll figure out some answers in the next couple of weeks. As far as the tournament goes, I mean, it's tough because I've spent the last few years putting myself in this position. And then now just to go back into a tournament like that, the activity is nice, but I kind of feel like I've earned throughout these couple of years something big when whatever's next is going to be big, so whether that be, I mean, it leaves me in a tough spot for sure. I'm not really keen on waiting. I've already waited this long. And then now waiting for that fight to happen. If it were to happen early in the year, that's still looking at, next summer by the time I can fight again in February 2023 into, next summer is quite a long time, especially when I'm healthy and I'm training and I'm, I got a baby now, so I got to make some money here. So, I mean, I got to talk to Ali and really figure out. But I think right now he doesn't really have an idea either. Nobody really has an idea. I don't think they've done much of the hiring on the Bellator side. So, I mean, I'm not sure what's exactly going to happen just yet. But, I mean, for me, as long as it's something big, either title shot or something big coming back, like a big fight, maybe even on that pay-per-view card, that champions versus champions, if they want to put, a couple Bellator high-ranked guys against some PFL big names, that would be pretty cool. And then that would line myself up pretty good timeline with Pitbull. But again, every fight's a risk. And but at this point, waiting is kind of, I'm at my wit's end on the waiting part.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, is there any form of an unwritten rule where you at Extreme Couture can even just pull Ray Cephal aside and talk to him?
Yeah, I mean, he's always there. So, I mean, I'm not sure how formal or it can be, but definitely having an extra, voice in his ear on what I would like. And I have a great relationship with Ray, but I know that also doesn't, run the business, so they're going to do what's best for them. But I definitely think me being at Extreme, having a good relationship with Ray, will help definitely speed things up at least. And whether it be, again, Kogan ends up staying on the Bellator side, I have a great relationship with him as well. Ali has a great relationship with both. So I know I'll be taken care of. It's just more a matter of waiting. But again, impatience is, I've been patient all year, and now I'm getting a bit impatient, and you can see a lot of the other Bellator fighters just with the uncertainty. If there was a guaranteed something's happening for me, even if it was March or April or something like that, not ideal, but at least I knew 100% that was happening, then I would be okay with it. But the uncertainty is what's the hardest part in this sport in general.
Right. Have you ever chatted with Ray like that in the past? You have been with PFL before Bellator, so has that ever happened? Here's why I ask. I don't think it's an out of line question. I'll tell you why. Because in the UFC, for example, Dane is always saying, "Man, I love it." I mean, he'll criticize sometimes. I remember he used to say, "Tyron Woodley blows up my phone 10 times a day."
Yeah.
But Tyron needs to get a lot of what he wanted because of that. Because the other side of Dana was like, "Man, I love people that are hungry and want." So I'm wondering, is Ray similar? Like, have you felt him to be that similar to Dana in that regard?
I mean, definitely. I feel like closed mouths don't get fed in this sport.
Right.
So
That's
obviously, having him right there, my voice in his ear constantly, that's going to help. I mean, since this acquisition, I haven't really seen him. I haven't ran into him, but like I said, I saw him all the time during the PFL season. I was still with Bellator, and I'm a fan of the sport in general. So like I liked following along the featherweight division, and we were always chatting about what was next and what was happening. And I got a good relationship with him. So when I do see him, I'm gonna be bugging him, seeing what's going on, what the plan is, for sure.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, man. So, like I was telling Pettis yesterday, we had him on the show. We
Okay.
do a little bit of our research before every guest. We know a lot about you guys as it is, but it doesn't hurt to scan it. And certain things will just jump out at you,
Yeah.
And I was looking. You've only had 3 losses in your career,
Yeah.
but one of them was avenged, right?
Yeah.
But of those 3, those guys are like 90-10. So like that's what
I
I
like
call
that.
quality losses. Like, everyone loses in this game, but
Yeah.
if you're losing to chump change, well, then maybe that's a little different than if you're also just being matched up against killers. So I
Yeah.
kind of see your point about, well, maybe I'm past the season long tournament.
Yeah.
I've earned my stripes. I'm not chump change, like
Yeah.
I get in there with the best.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I've earned that, fighting anybody and everybody, whoever's offered to me, and it's successful. Exactly. I mean, even the losses, like you said, I avenged that one that I righted that wrong in PFL.
Yeah.
The Volkanovski one was tough. Again, that was a learning experience, and look at what he's gone on to do. And then there's Borix again, which was a very close fight. I know adjustments, I win that fight, and so that's even another one that I would like back. I'm not sure what his plan is or what their plan is, but again, if it's not a title, I would love to try to avenge another loss. And every fighter wants to have all their losses wiped off, essentially. So that's another big one. That's something big that would be worth the wait, essentially.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's tough. But yeah, like you said, I mean, that's where going back to the tournament is. It's hard, and that grueling, 4 fights in not a year. It's more like 7 months,
True.
So that's a lot of weight cuts, and I'm a lot bigger of a guy now. And as you get to the top of the division, all these guys are just pushing the limit. To be able to do that 3 or 4 times in a row would be hard as well. So I feel like the Bellator route, the title route, the interim title, whatever it be, championship fight is what I'm gunning for.
Jeremy, so essentially, we've all been in this position where you're almost starting a new job, right? You're doing the same thing, just different setting, different people, all that stuff. But come fight night, does it feel more like Like, do you feel like you'll be carrying all of your momentum with you, or do you feel like in a way it is sort of like starting at a new job, starting everything over again?
I mean, it really depends on where they go with this. If Bellator does stay Bellator, like they've said, and a lot of the division stays, and not a lot of them go over to the tournament, then I do feel like I'm just continuing that momentum and building on, because it's still the same roster, and we might get a few of the Bellator, I mean the PFL guys, and who aren't really interested in the tournament, and they come over, so then that just grows the division even more, and that momentum's still there. Where if it isn't and it kind of gets dissolved or fizzled out, then it almost is starting again, because you have so many more fighters and different opponents that I haven't really, right now in the Bellator division, I'm pretty familiar, and I've either fought or been close to fighting or studied all these guys. So if it were to get really merged, then you almost are starting fresh, but that doesn't change anything. I still carry my skill set over, and it's just a whole different list of victims essentially.
Jeremy, is there one aspect of Bellator that you hope continues? And I'll give you an example, like the Grand Prix, or even the shape of the gloves, or even a Burt Watson, right? Screaming in your ear, venues that Bellator goes to. Is there any like one aspect that you really, really hope continues?
There's actually a few. I mean, the little ones that don't really matter. Like, I mean, obviously I loved everything to do with Bellator, the glove sizes and all that. That was cool. And the team, Bert, but everybody behind scenes, Kogan, Jane, all of them. But I really hope there is still a relationship with Japan. I've been dying to get over there. And they have said that they would like to keep that relationship. And that would be like the only real result of me ever fighting out there. And that was a goal when I first started this whole thing, was that I would love to fight in Japan, So that's obviously one. And then elbows. They got to be able to keep elbows wherever we go. That's a huge part of my game. And that's another reason why I wouldn't really want to go into the season again, just because I do value elbows so much. And it's such a big part of the game that, I mean, I just hope wherever we go and whatever the brand name is under our fights, that they keep that rule set.
I was thinking, they did say Bellator is going to run 8 events throughout 2024 in concurrently as PFL's doing everything they're doing. They got PFL Europe going on. They have the regular season with playoffs going on. And then they also got the pay-per-view series. So yeah, there is a lot to consider there. But just to be clear, you did say you would be willing to take another high-profile contender if they do run Pitbull versus Pinedo. And Boric seemed attractive to you, running that back maybe?
Yeah, I mean, on the Bellator side, that's the one that looked good to me, just because I need some upside as well. Just it'd be tough to wait all year, be given this title shot, and then all the circumstances that happen, and then come back to just another number one contender fight against another guy, where at least with Boric, that's a chance to avenge my own loss. And then if it's a PFL side, that puts me on the big card, the big lights, the pay-per-view, wherever that is. And that's another big fight, another big card against a fresh face, a fresh division that eventually we will be crossing over anyway. So, the bigger names in PFL ideally, or Boric's on that rematch, just to avenge my loss. But Pitbull, man, that's the one I've been thinking about all year. So it's still a hard pill to swallow, and everything else isn't as exciting. I'm trying to excite it, So we'll have to see when the time comes and they actually have some names and some idea of what direction we're going.
Right. And so, how about this question? You won against Aaron Pico, and you were fighting well up until when he got injured. But he's won since then. He's a popular name. At any point, the same way you want to right the ship about avenging a loss, would you want to fight him and, I guess, leave no doubt to any naysayer that's out there that says, well, the shoulder went out or whatever?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and I know that fight's always on the table as well. I mean, again, we don't know. The last time he fought, he was saying he wanted that title shot, and he was willing to sit and wait. And I've done the waiting, so I know where he's at. But again, that would be probably one of the ones I'm talking about, waiting this whole year. I mean, he's had 2 fights since then. And then while I've been waiting for my title shot, then just to come back for that same fight that I had, without any kind of title line on it. I mean, that was what we were aiming for, the interim title at the end of the year. And that was great. That's something that makes it worth it, you know? So if they want to slap an interim title on that or something to do with the title, I mean, that I'm always up for that as well. But just to come back for another number one contender fight is pretty hard, you know. Like I've done 3 of them already. It was me and him. The first time was billed as the number one contender, the way it went. You know, obviously they wanted another one. Pedro was the number one contender. I won that one. And then the whole thing with the title happened. So, I mean, to come into a year later and another number one contender fight against the same guy, you know, it's not exciting, essentially. You know, I know that fight's still there and it's going to happen because we need to close that chapter. But I know me and him are probably the 2 best in the division anyway. So whoever gets a chance at Pitbull, we're taking that title and defending against each other, essentially, is the way I'm looking at it. But again, things are always changing here, and he might be in that tournament. I don't really know what's going on his side. Borix might be in that tournament now. Like he might be off the table. So I don't really know what the other guys are doing. But on the Bellator side, Borix is the one I really want. And on the PFL side, I mean, I don't know. You have the I don't want to call anybody out, essentially, but you have like the Bubba Jenkins, the Brennan Lochnanes, the Bragas, like those guys, everyone who did well in this last season are all the ones that I want.
Yeah. All right. Last question. PFL's with USADA now.
Yeah.
Have you guys been informed of anything in terms of that? Like, have you already joined that, or are you waiting for the email that tells you, hey, welcome, you know,
where's your whereabouts? Yeah.
The intro or whatever? Have you heard anything there?
No, I mean, I know they're under USADA, and I've been through USADA when I was with the UFC, so it's nothing out of the ordinary for me. But I still think it's going to probably take through the holidays to get, you know, contracts in order, whether that's new contracts or our Bellator existing ones still work, or there's nothing in my contract for a tournament structure or anything like that anyways. So I don't know if we're going to have to figure out that side of things, and then the drug testing and the anti-doping, that's probably all going to be coming in the next couple of weeks here, and then we can figure it out from there. But I mean, I like it. I'm glad they're doing something. You saw when they did the show in Vegas, what the athletic commission did to that whole division, you know, or a couple. So I'm glad that they're cleaning it up, and then in a tournament format like that, you know, it's important to have everybody safe and clean. Like, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but my run in the PFL tournament was riddled with a lot of the PEDs too. So both guys I fought in the one night both tested positive after fighting in Vegas.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm happy with it. I'm on board.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there.
I'm going to squeeze in one more.
Bellator as well.
I'm going to squeeze in one more. Aside from that night in Chicago, you know, we knew that by then, I guess there was no 302 planned.
Yeah.
We felt like it was over. And then they made the announcement a few Mondays ago. Have you heard anything from either Coker, Kogan, or anyone there? Just, hey, as you've all heard, the news is out there. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for your service. We'll be in touch. Anything? Has there been any form of closure that way? Or on the flip side from PFL, welcome, former Bellator fighter. Or just, is there anything?
Not too much like formally like that. I think everyone was just on the same page once they made that announcement. You know, that's where I got all the information from. And there wasn't much more to say. Especially for the Bellator side, it was kind of out of their hands. And I'm sure the employees didn't want it to end. You know, it was the higher ups of Viacom, Paramount.
Yeah.
That's the sort of stuff that shut everything down. So, I mean, I'm sure they were all bummed and trying to make sense of it themselves to try to reach out to me. I didn't take anything personally or anything like that. And I mean, a lot of them might stay, so it might not be a goodbye, you know? So I think that's another thing, is there's a lot of uncertainty on who's going to be staying and coming on board. And I might still see a lot of them. There might still be a Burt Watson and, you know, Kogan and whatnot, and the whole team. So Coker, you know, I don't know, but I didn't hear anything like that. A lot of it was relayed through my manager, Ali. And I mean, it's definitely a unique thing happened, you know? So like, it's a pretty big deal, with especially how big Bellator was and how big PFL is, and how many people are working and behind the scenes, and how many fighters Bellator has. It's just, I mean, it's new for everybody. And I think everyone's trying to figure it out, you know, and that's where PFL was kind of throwing a lot of ideas around with that announcement, but not everything stuck, you know. Like, we don't know if is Cyborg fighting Leah McCord, or is she fighting Larissa Pacheco or Kayla Harrison? Like, we don't know that. kind of announced all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And that champion versus champion, I don't know, is that going to be all together? Because then the Bellator cards, they also announced that with those 8 cards, each co-main and main is going to have a title fight. And so if you have all the champions fighting on one card, how do you continue on for the next few months after that? So, I mean, I think they're buckling down and figuring everything out now, and then we're going to find out soon.
Can't wait. That's
man,
2 big rosters merging, some big fights
Yeah.
out there, and you're at the top of the heap there in that weight class. So
yeah.
Anyway, if we don't see you, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Congrats to the Kennedy family, your new addition.
Thank you so much.
And
right
I suppose next year we'll hopefully be talking about an upcoming fight. So we'll
Yes, sir.
see you at the gym.
My man, thank you very much.